So this is the inner sanctum?
Yes, this is the inner sanctum. I'm sanctimizing right now.
You are not on a computer?
Don't know how to do it.
Not to worry. With his trusty typewriter and stacks of handwritten notes, like the ones you can see in his New York office, Neil Simon has produced some 30 plays and just as many screenplays, creating some classic moments in American comedy. Who could forget his bickering odd couple with Jack Lemmon as Felix and Walter Matthau as Oscar?
Listen, you want to talk to me, buddy? Put down that spoon.
Yeah, spoon! You dumb ignoramus, that is a ladle!
It seems like you see things that happen in everyday life.
That's true.
You see the humor in them.
I think I do. I find it easier to write in the way most of us talk. It just comes easier to me and more realistic.
And Neil Simon's unique take on life just this month earned him one of the nation's top comedy awards.
To say that Neil is special would be an understatement.
Old friends like Robert Redford came to pay tribute.
What do you like about him as a human being?
I think because he can so target the heart, using humor, he can so target the heart of issues and concerns we all have.
See it tonight, hey?
And Redford should know. He got his first big break playing Jane Fonda's buttoned-down husband in Simon's Barefoot in the Park.
Was that a kiss? Because, boy, if that's what kisses are going to be like from now on, don't bother to come back at 5:30.
Corey, I can't kiss you anymore. My lips are numb. Now, will you please go inside?
Where did Simon get his sense of humor?
Were you the kid in class who would always pipe up with a joke?
I was the quietest person. I didn't know I could talk till I was 31. So I don't know where it all came from.
Actually, it came from the Bronx, where Marvin Neil Simon was born in 1927. He never liked Marvin, and his brother Danny called him Doc, a nickname that stuck for years. It was a difficult childhood. The family struggled to make ends meet.
Do you think your humor was in a way a response to the tough times?
Well, it explained things to me. Anyway, it made it easier to deal with if you were able to laugh at it.
Over the years, Simon often used his own experiences for comic material.
So who's this handsome young fellow?
It used to be me.
And you're in uniform.
And yes, the Army Air Force.
It was my 5th day in the Army, and so far I hated everyone.
His stint in the service, for example, led to Biloxi Blues, starring Matthew Broderick.
It was hard to believe that these guys had mothers and fathers who were worried about them.
In real life, after a stint writing for what was then called the Army Air Force newspaper, Neil joined his brother Danny writing gags for TV, especially Sid Caesar's Your Show of Shows.
And then I'm working with Max Liebman and Sid Caesar and Mel Brooks and Larry Gelbart, all of the best comedy writers in America. And I said, how did we fall into this? And I learned a lot. And by the time 3 or 4 years, when I got out, I felt I was ready to write a play.
But what do you think gave you the courage to do it?
It wasn't courage, it was stupidity. You just have to be, so dumb and say, just do it. Maybe it'll work out.
The play was Come Blow Your Horn, later made into a film starring Frank Sinatra as a swinging bachelor.
Bye, lover.
Bye. Hiya, baby.
If my math is right, you were about 34 years old.
I was never 34 years old.
When you wrote that play, huge hit on Broadway. What did that feel like to have a hit your first time out?
Well, it doesn't feel like anything because you don't know what to feel. You had to really move on and do something better than that.
So he did. With play after play. Even trying his hand at musicals like Sweet Charity. He was the toast of Broadway. At one point, he had 4 plays running at the same time. He made the covers of Time and Newsweek.
Everything was so great. You had 2 beautiful daughters. But everything changed in 1973 when your wife, Joan, died from cancer.
Yeah.
You'd been married for 19 years.
19 years.
So how hard was that?
The hardest thing, I think, in my life.
Simon's solution to throw himself into his work, which was good news for actors like Richard Dreyfuss.
He knew I could do things that I didn't know I could do. And it was the greatest way of starting a career, because it was the greatest writer in America listening to what I specifically do. And it's the most important moment I've ever had.
The moment was The Goodbye Girl.
All your life you've waited.
Dreyfuss won an Academy Award playing a struggling actor forced into sharing a tiny apartment with Marcia Mason.
And now if you will move your shapely little Fanny out of my room, I will unpack and dry my beard. Miss McFadden, you forgot to say goodnight.
I was working on goodbye.
Marcia Mason was not just any actress. She was Neil Simon's second wife. He was also married to actress Diane Lander, and now, for the past 7 years, to another actress, Elaine Joyce.
I opened the door, and he said hi, just like that.
On
We
your
went on
first
our
date?
first date.
Yeah, I
He
remember
came
that.
over, and it's like, you know, that's it.
She's become his biggest fan.
When they named the theater after him, they should name the city after him, you know. He's just given people so much happiness.
At 79, still writing and in good health after a 2004 kidney transplant, Simon says much of his happiness comes from making people laugh. And occasionally, his characters give us insight into how he does it.
In The Sunshine Boys, the Walter Matthau character says, I've been in this business 57 years. I know a few things.
You know what makes an audience laugh? You know which words are funny and which words are not funny?
Words that are funny have a K sound in it.
Tomatoes is not funny. Lettuce is not funny.
You've explained that to me since I was 5. Look, I've got to get back to the office.
Cucumber's funny.
Cucumber is funny, but lettuce is not funny.
That's true. Cucumber is funnier than lettuce. Am I right? Yes.
And the Mark Twain Prize is just the latest in a series of awards he's earned for getting it just right.
I really came out here for water and to go to the bathroom. So one of them is not going to happen.
You've got the Kennedy Center Honors, the Comedy Award. God, I can't even read all of them.
I know. Well, my wife makes most of them, so
Yeah.
don't trust them.
He's got 3 Tonys, a slew of Academy Award and Emmy nominations, and the Pulitzer Prize for Lost in Yonkers, one of his more serious plays. And what resonates in all of Neil Simon's work, serious or comic, is that it seems to speak to all of us.
Many times I would go to the theater and stand in the back, and people would come up and they'd say, how do you know my father? How do you know my cousin? I seem to touch that aspect of their lives that's familiar with them as familiar with me.
Do you like it that you have the ability to make us laugh?
Oh, sure. I mean, making a connection with millions of people is pretty good.
I take that.
I'll give you their names. I have them.